Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Abby was a 3-year-old girl who had trouble sleeping through the night. She kept waking up because she was afraid of the dark. She would then go in and find comfort in her parents' bed. Her mother would then take her back to her own room, tuck her in again, and she reminded Abby that Jesus was with her and he would keep her safe. So the sleepless nights continued. Abby still seeking the comfort of her parents' bedroom. Finally, one night her mother asked her, "Abby, haven't you prayed to Jesus to take away your fear? To help you fall asleep and stay asleep?" And Abby said to her mother, "Oh, yes, Mommy. I talked to Jesus. He told me I should come and get you." Oh, fear is a funny thing. In today's gospel, Jesus was teaching by the lake. When evening came, he said to his disciples, "Let's go over to the other side." And leaving the crowd behind, they got in their boat and headed to the other side of the lake. And a storm popped up, really bad, furious storm, kind of like what we experienced here last night. If you live in North Tonawanda, we had some really horrible winds and rain yesterday. It was really bad. But the storm came up and the boat was swamped. The boat was overflowing with water. It was about ready to drown them all. And Jesus was just in the back of the boat sleeping on a cushion. And the disciples woke him up and said, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown? Don't you care if we perish?" Jesus got up, rebuked the wind, said to the waves, "Quiet, there, peace, be still." Then the wind died down and it was completely calm and serene. Then he turned to his disciples and asked, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" And then according to Mark's gospel, they were terrified. First they were scared, then they became terrified. Terrified because they started asking each other, "Who is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?" That's always kind of fascinated me. These disciples who were, many of them, seasoned, rugged fishermen. And Jesus called these people, knowing what they did for a living, they were afraid of the storm. And then when Jesus calmed the storm, they were even more afraid. They were terrified of his power over the wind and the waves. And that adds a lot of credibility to this gospel lesson. It shows that these disciples were human. They were human. They didn't know how to take Jesus. "Who is this?" they asked. Now, before we talk about that question, who is this Jesus, we need to deal with the question that Jesus asked them. Why are you so afraid? I could ask many of you the same question. I could ask myself the same question. Why are you so afraid? Fear is at the heart of most of the problems that human beings suffer from. The opposite of faith is not doubt. The opposite of faith is fear. Think about it for a moment. Try to tell me any problem in your life, in the human heart, that's not caused by some type of fear. Those fears are all over the board, too. We have fears about so many things. We have fears about our ability to cope with life. We have fears about disease. We have fears concerning the future. We have fears about areas in our lives that we have no control over. And at the heart of all this, we got worry and resentment and hatred and guilt and almost every other negative emotion. And these are emotions that eat at our well-being, eat at our peace of mind. Our peace of mind, is, of course, that's fear. And frequently our fears are out of proportion to reality. Frequently our fears should be here and we got them up here. Someone had made a recent trip to the beach, and he said upon his return, "I realized something. I discovered that I scream the same way whether I'm about to be devoured by a great white shark or if a piece of seaweed touches my foot." Think about that. If you've ever been in water like that, something swims across your foot, you don't know what it is. There's panic. Is it a shark? It's probably true for most of us. Even if we're not aware of it, We have a human tendency to turn molehills into mountains. The reason we do that is because deep down we are afraid. Most of the problems we have are caused by fear. It may be fear that someone's going to take advantage of us, someone's going to take something away from us. So maybe fear of failure, maybe fear of looking foolish, maybe fear of not fitting in, maybe fear that we'll be abandoned somehow. And few people aren't driven by some type of fear. Jesus said to us, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" And what Jesus is telling them, and he's telling us still today, is that the way to conquer fear is through faith. Faith is the only true antidote for fear. On September 29th of last year, I first heard the word malignancy used by a doctor to describe me. Was I afraid? You bet I was afraid. You bet. You know the first thing I did when I found out I had cancer last year? I went out and did my Christmas shopping for my grandsons because I didn't know if I was going to be here at Christmas. My first stop should have been with Jesus, talking to him about healing and everything. It wasn't. My first stop was Christmas shopping. How foolish I was. Jesus should always be my first thought. But I figured I have a few things I want to get done first. And I did. And it really worried my daughters when I did the Christmas shopping early, because they were worried that maybe I wasn't going to be here at Christmas too. Well, the smartest thing is to always turn our fears and concerns over to God. That doesn't mean wait until we've tried and failed on our own, but do it immediately. If we can all learn to live that way, then most of the things that keep us awake at night would simply disappear. Fear is the biggest problem in our lives. And the best way to conquer fear is, again, is with faith. But not just faith in anything or anybody. The only kind of faith that matters is faith in Jesus Christ. Once I turned things over to Jesus, things didn't get easier. You know, chemo was a horrible thing. Radiation wasn't a great deal of fun. But I was better equipped to handle those things because I knew he was with me. I knew that so many of you had been praying for me. So many of you reminded me on almost a daily basis that God was with me. And even when you thought I was forgetting that he was with me, you kept reminding me. Some of you more than others. I'm going to be having some more tests done tomorrow. I'll be having some more scans done in the next couple of weeks. And you know what? I don't have a fear. I'm anxious about what the results are going to be, only because I'm just curious about what the results are going to be. But it's not a fear. I don't have the fear that I had 9-10 months ago. All because I know that Jesus is with me. This is why my prayers for you tonight are easy. I pray that whenever a storm begins to kick up in your life, you just call upon Jesus to help you. That you don't try to weather the storm alone and then call upon Jesus once your boat is sinking. If your ways don't work, don't worry about it. Jesus' ways will work. I pray that you don't allow your fear to take over your life, but place that life into the hands of God, and he will take away your fear. Also, I pray that you would hear Jesus' words, "Peace, be still," and obey them. They're not just for the storms of life. Those words are perfect for every single part of our lives, every day of our lives. He's still saying the same thing to you today as he did to the disciples then. Peace, be still. Way back in the Psalms, we hear, "Be still and know that I am God." Listen to those words and see the storms begin to calm in your life. Amen. So God bless you tonight. And God bless you as you prepare for storms that are going to come for all of us, but storms that Jesus can take away. Amen.